we decided we can't do any simplifying until we did what first? In an instance like this. Yeah, factoring. Okay, so here's what I'd like you to do with your group. I want you to factor the numerator, and I want you to factor the denominator. And then once you have it factored, we'll see if we can do any simplifying or not. All right, but go ahead and simplify the numerator, simplify the denominator. I said simplify, factor the numerator, factor the denominator. All right, who can tell me what they factored the numerator into? From there, Andrew, what you get?
X plus 4 into x minus 1.
Okay. All right, everybody okay with those two? Those two, right? What about the bottom there?
2x plus 3 and x plus 4.
All right, so that's going to be the hard part. That's the part that takes the most time, because now it's just a matter of, okay, what would be some things we can simplify. And in this case, we have the x plus 4s. So we know x plus 4 divided by x plus 4 is really just 1. So I end up with 3x minus 1 over 2x plus 3. And we decided that we can't really simplify that any further because those are terms that are linked together by their subtraction and their addition. All right, so let's just spend some time on that. Well, today what we're going to do is we're going to take the next step. We know how to simplify things, but we're going to combine that with some multiplication and division. So before we start multiplying and dividing, let's think about how we even multiply and divide any fractions or any rational numbers. Different things you could do. We know with multiplication of fractions, one option is just to take the numerators, multiply them, take the denominators, multiply them. But we also could maybe do some simplifying initially. And some of you mentioned this the other day, you called it cross-canceling, but basically we're looking at, is there anything in the numerator that we can divide or simplify that's in the denominator? For instance, on this one, we got the 2 and the 14. Well, we know we can divide both of those by 2. We got the 3 and the 9. We know we can divide both those by 3. And that makes my job a lot easier because now it's just 1 times 3, 1 times 7. What was the extra thing we had to do with division? Yeah, we had to multiply by the reciprocal. And then once we did that, we're back to, again, looking for, is there any simplifying I can do? Well, I got 3 and 12. I've got 5 and 25. All right, so as simple as those ideas may seem, they're really going to help us with those more involved problems where we do throw in some expressions. So let's say I had these two problems here. I'm asked to multiply 4x plus 3 over x minus 5 times the other expression of x minus 5 over x plus 3. Well, again, if I wanted to, I could go straight across and multiply, but it's always going to be easier if I could do any simplifying. Well, I've already got multiplication going on here, so I'm going to look for anything in the numerator that I could simplify with the exact same term in the denominator. Well, we'll notice the x minus 5 through there, so x minus 5 divided by itself, we know just gives us 1. So at that point, I'm left with 4x plus 3 over the x plus 3. Now, is there any other simplifying I can do with that? Can I cancel anything here? No. Okay. So this would be my simplified answer for that one. Over here, we've got division. So just like we said a second ago, before I deal with any simplifying, I'm going to flip it over. So when I flip it over, I've got this now. Now I'm kind of looking for the same stuff. Do I have anything I can simplify? And we're lucky enough with 9x minus 1s. And so I get x plus 2 over 2x plus 1. So not too bad in those instances. But on all these, we didn't have to worry about doing any simplifying ahead of time. In other words, they were already just binomials, just two terms either added or subtracted. We're going to see some that are a little more involved in that. So let's say that I had this situation. I had 5x minus 15 divided by 3x squared plus 10x minus 8. And that is supposed to be divided by these two expressions, x squared plus x minus 12 over 3x squared minus 8x plus 4. So I got a lot of stuff going on. But I know if I can do some simplifying, that sometimes makes my life a little bit easier. We also said I can't really simplify if it's not in factored form or if we don't have some multiplication going on. So here's what I'm going to do to try to figure out what the solution is, what the quotient is for this one. I'm going to start out and I'm going to look at each part of each fraction. I'm going to look at the numerator and I'm going to ask myself, well, could I maybe factor that some? So let's go to the first term here. Well, that 5x minus 15, am I able to factor that? Do you have anything in common? Yeah, I got the 5, right? So I can pull that 5 out, and if I do that, I'm left with x minus 3. So I factored the numerator. Then I go to the next one, on the denominator here, and I ask myself, well, can I factor that one? So depending on what method you want to try, we're going to see what the factored form of this would be. Well, I like that generic rectangle, my goal would be, I'm trying to multiply to get negative 24. I'm going to try to add to get 10. Is anything going to work for that? You think I can multiply to get negative 24, but add to get 10? You know, maybe- Yeah, 12 negative 2. So I'm going to fill those in. So 3x squared and negative 2x, they've got an x in common. And so now I should be able to find all the other pieces, because x times 3x gives me 3x squared. X times negative 2 gives me negative 2x. And finally, 3x times 4 gives me 12x. So factored form for this one is 3x minus 2 and x plus 4. All right, well, now I've got the other two parts. But keeping in mind that I've got division going on here. So eventually I know I've got to do the reciprocal, because I can't really simplify unless I change it to multiplication. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of put two steps into one. I'm going to go ahead and think of it as multiplication with the idea of this 3x squared minus 8x plus 4. It's now going to be on top. It's now going to be in the numerator. So I'm back to the same thing. I'm going to see if I can factor that. Well, some of you kind of like to use, I guess, in a checking type method for this, and that's fine. So if I were doing that, to get 3x squared, I can use 3x and x. I'm trying to get positive 4 when I multiply, but eventually negative 8 when I put it all together. Find something work.
2, negative 2.
Say it again.
Negative 2, negative 2.
Okay, so negative 2 and negative 2. If we were to check it out, we got negative 2 times x, negative 6 times x, or negative 6x when we multiply it, and that gives us the negative 8. So that works out. And again, the generic rectangle is fine for that as well. All right, on top, if I try to factor that, well, I'm trying to multiply to get negative 12, add to get 1, and that's going to be 4 and negative 3. So again, that's the hard part. That's the longest part. We got to factor each piece. From there, we just start looking for, all right, what are some things we can simplify? Well, some things we can simplify would be the 3x minus 2s, the x minus 3s. I think that's it, right? So my answer for this one, now I don't care if you literally multiply it out. In fact, in a lot of ways, I'd rather you didn't multiply it out. So I'm going to just say 5 times x minus 2, and then x plus 4 times itself, or you could say x plus 4 squared. The reason I think it's better not to multiply it out is, say I asked you to graph this, or ask you what's an excluded value. It'd be a lot easier to find it now in that form versus multiplying it out. So we're just combining things there. The simplifying part with the, in this case, division part. All right, so I'm going to give you one other one here. See if you can simplify this one. So you're going to have 2x squared plus x minus 10 over x squared plus 2x minus 8. And we're going to divide that by 4x squared plus 20x plus 25 over x plus 4. So you're trying to find the quotient for that one. So again, think about factoring. You got division, so deal with the division part and go from there. All right, might double check your factoring with what I have up here. And now again, we're looking to see what we can simplify. The reason I don't like the term cross canceling because that makes it sound like it has to have one in one fraction, one in the other. But remember, it's really looking at a term that's being divided by the exact same term. So even like the x minus 2's here, I could actually simplify those down to 1. But I also have the x plus 4's and the 2x plus 5's. So this one actually breaks all the way down to just 1 over 2x plus 5. And that would be our simplified answer. Okay. So factoring comes into play a lot with this. But once we have it factored, then we're going to simplify these things. All right, so a few things here. First of all, what I'd like you to have done for Tuesday next week. And you have time now. We'll have time here in a second to complete this. Also on Tuesday, and I realize things are changing here, and we'll discuss that here in a second. But Tuesday, you will also be having a quiz over Chapter 3. Now, how's all this going to work here?